Hello and welcome. Yeah, morning. Has some music going on there. Um, Today I want to talk about something that's been kind of bothering me. I was talking about it the other day, or actually, uh, George Francis was talking about it, and it made a lot of sense. And I wanted to bring it up myself. One of the things he was talking about was why doesn't the boxing media and the MMA media cover kickboxing? And where is the kickboxing media? Is there something that these companies don't believe in when it comes to striking sports? When you see things like uh, Muay Thai or kickboxing, they're very exciting. I don't think excitement is something that is keeping it back. I would assume that the reason that they're not covered is because of ratings. I mean, that would be probably the most biggest reason, which I mean, the dollar bill is gonna drive everything, right? But I understand that for someone like ESPN, why they wouldn't do it. But when you got uh, places like Instagram, media companies that cover themselves on Instagram, I'm thinking about companies like Supreme Boxing, Fino Boxing, Fight Hub TV. These are like YouTube and Instagram level media companies. When you even have guys like Vox Media who can cover whoever they want, they got a lot of money in their pockets and they can cover whoever they want, and they just choose not to cover striking sports. So, what are some of the issues? What are some of the things that can be done to fix it? Um, if the question is about production value, like maybe there's something about production values, I just don't believe it. WCK is a local show that fights out here in SoCal in Southern California. They have great production value. They've been on regional sports networks doing television for a long time. They had a great show just last July. So I honestly I can't tell you if I saw any media about it other than the actual coverage that they provided. Another one that I've seen is excuse me. Another one that I've seen is Fighters Rep. That's the company that I work with. Well, the only time we ever get any media coverage was when we had Anderson Silva's son, and either he was winning or he got knocked out. I understand that Anderson Silva is a star and that's his son, and so that's why that's going to get media coverage. But what I'm wondering is why isn't there more MMA or why isn't there a striking media? Because there's MMA medias. There's a couple different MMA companies that cover media. Yeah, not as much as boxing. You go to a boxing event, and there's tons of media there. It doesn't matter the level. If you go to, I went to a regional one from Leo Santa Cruz, and I couldn't get up there and photograph because the whole ring was covered with photographers. The whole back row of the event was covered with media personnel just sitting there waiting for an interview with somebody. And I'm not knocking it. Boxing's been doing a great job with their media, pumping up their sport. So my question is, when you go to like a MMA event, I would say there's even less. I would say a regional MMA event has less media, but there's still some. There's a few. Maybe that can really be improved too. Where is the MMA media that's going to cover the lower grade? You know, the amateur promotions, the pro am promotions. You don't see as many of them as you would think you would. Where's the media that's going to cover stuff like striking sports, like Muay Thai? If it's a question is if it's exciting, I got some slides. You know how I like to show slides to show you. I mean, these are exciting sports. The action's there. Here's a Wilson Haw fight from WCK. That was a very exciting fight. That was back and forth versus Gabe David. You can see there's plenty of action. This one right here is from Fighters Rep. The photo is courtesy of Fighters Rep. This is David Pacheco versus Andrew Nguyen. That was an excellent fight. That was I'd rank this fight up there with anything in the UFC. I really would, and I understand they're two different sports, and I understand that you can't expect an MMA fan to be a kickboxing fan. I really think they should. I think they're just as exciting. Here goes some more of the fighters rep fight. This one was recently. This is Edgar Zaragoza versus Melvin Guerra. This is not a sport lacking in action. Muay Thai, kickboxing, these are not lacking action sports. So my question is, what needs to be done to get a media company to follow these sports? You know, it's someone like me. I'm following it. I'm trying to promote it. I'm trying to advertise these fighters. I'm trying to get their names out there. I'm trying to interview these fighters. But where's the companies that are much bigger than me? Companies that have been more successful? You don't think that if Vox Media really wanted to, they can create stars? Well, maybe you don't think that there's not enough budget in these promotions. Maybe they're too low budget, you think, and no one wants to pay attention to the low budget promotions. Bellator had kickboxing, Glory had kickboxing. You never hear about those sports. You never saw them covered. Anderson Silva, I think Anderson Silva, for sure Israel Adesanya, for sure Michael Pereira, for sure Alistair Overeem. These are just many of the guys that were kickboxers that went into the UFC. I mean, so they have elite level athletes, and it's just not being covered. And I just want to know what needs to be done. I'm asking the question. What can promoters do to get these shows to have more coverage? More coverage means more eyes on the shows, means bigger shows. It's gonna mean more money for the fighters. It's gonna grow the sport. If there's money for the fighters, obviously there'll be more fighters. I see a lot of guys that go into MMA, and I don't think they want to go to MMA. I think they go to MMA because there's not enough money in striking sports, and they see that that's the way to go. And I think that's got to change. And the only way that changes is if the sport grows. So we need that to happen. We need the sport to grow. We need the media to cover striking, to cover kickboxing, to cover Muay Thai. We need to see more media coverage of these events because these are exciting events. You can see right here, this is not lack for action. I invite you to go to the Fighters Rep YouTube page, join their channel, watch Fighters Rep 12. It doesn't lack for action. Watch Fighters Rep 11 for free. Just go on there and type in Fighters Rep fights. You tell me if they're boring. You tell me if it's foreign. I understand maybe something like Lethway. Lethway can get on not on ESPN but on Fight Pass, and they can talk all about Lethway. And I understand that's like a freak show. People like that. Why aren't they more into Muay Thai? Why aren't they more into kickboxing? Why don't you hear more about stuff like Glory? You don't hear about Glory. I couldn't name one Glory fighter for you. I couldn't name one guy who fights for Lion Fight. I couldn't name one guy. I don't even know if Bellator kickboxing is still a thing. And what sucks is these are really exciting sports. This has nothing to do with how exciting the sport is. Is this a problem with the promoters? Do the promoters got to get together and figure out what's wrong? Is this a problem I really feel this is a problem with the media companies that have the power to broadcast these sports, to push these fighters, to push these sports, and they don't want to. Maybe they don't see the money in it. So what can be done to change that? What are your guys' opinions on what we can do to change it? Please leave your comments on the bottom. I would love to hear your opinions. I'm not complaining about anything. I just cover the fights. I work for Fighters Rep, but I'm not. I'm my own channel too, So I'm asking the question because I think these strikers really deserve a bigger platform, and I think certain companies are ignoring it that could push it and make it bigger. I don't think it would hurt them to make it bigger. And it'd be real easy. Just interview the fighters, go to the events, take pictures, cover the fights, tell people who won, who lost, who they should know. That's what people are trying to do. Real quick before I go, you never hear about boxing having the photographers having to sell their pictures. You don't hear about that as much because the media makes money by covering the fights. In kickboxing and Muay Thai, the only way to make money if you're covering the fight is to actually sell the pictures of the fight back to the fighters. How do we get that changed? How do we get more media members to cover kickboxing and Muay Thai? How do we get fans more interested? That's what I want to know, guys. Leave the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.